Hi, friends. Eunji's here. Listen, we have your bio in the caption.
Oh, great.
And by caption, I mean the show notes. But everyone is different on any given day, and I'm wondering if maybe you'd want to introduce yourself. Like, who are you?
That's too existential.
I know. It's deep. It's the deepest question I'm about to ask in the next hour. That was it. That was the deepest I got. So don't worry.
God, yeah.
I mean, it's all gravy from here.
I mean,
Gravy?
Gravy. It's all gravy. Gravy.
And groovy.
Yeah. It's gravy. I think currently I am a comedian, mother, occasionally wife.
Just occasionally, every now and then, until I look at my Instagram ads and I'm like, you know what? It's never too late.
It's never too late. That's currently what I am. I mean, like, I'm a stand-up comedian. I act. I've been on television. I've been in web. You know, one of my
web series. That's when hold on, time out. If you're gonna call it a web series, I'm gonna just be like, straight up, you're old. You got old. It's over. Wait. Hold on. I was in the SAG-AFTRA meeting, by the way, where they were like, web series and web fucking contracts. And they were talking about Orange is the New Black.
Yes.
They were literally talking about Orange. Do you remember this?
Yes.
When Orange is the New Black was the streaming new media contract that all of me and my friends were using. And those girls were series regulars on a hit TV show and got paid, I think, $100 a day. I'm pretty sure.
Because that was the new media rate during that era.
That was the new media rate.
Yes.
And by new media, I mean web series, because they thought Netflix was a web site. They thought it was a website.
And it technically is. It technically is a website. Like, you couldn't...
Yeah.
You know, there's no DVD that comes to your door anymore. It's just...
Oh my God. Remember when they had DVDs come to our door?
I used to date a guy that would get so many... Yeah, that's a red flag on the number of DVDs he would get delivered. But like...
why so many? What was happening there?
Exactly. What's happening? You know what wasn't happening? A job. And
or commitment. Maybe he was like having maybe he would start one DVD and be like, you know what? Never mind.
And it translated over to me. Yeah. It translated over. The lack of commitment translated to our relationship. And
well, it's never too late.
It's never too late. It's true.
And look, you made it. You got it. You got the baby daddy. I saw him on your Instagram, like, taking naps with your baby. He's cute. That's cute. I like that.
Yeah. He's
pulling his weight. No?
Yeah, I mean, he's classic.
He best be.
He is. He really is. He's a very, very good father. Sometimes it does. I'm overwhelmed by how good of a father he is. Terrible.
Why?
Roommate.
It's overwhelming. Well, you just got so serious.
I know. I was just.
We pivoted so quick. We were having a great time, and then all of a sudden, you just remembered your beloved, and it got deep. And I thought, "Who are you?" would be the deep one, but. Just a mention of your beau, and
considering how much I love my family, and I was just like, oh my God. But
all of a sudden you were like, I really
love my family.
I really love my family.
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Can you cut that out?
I mean, really? No, I mean, that's so off-brand. Like, what's happening here?
I know.
You like them that much?
I mean, truly, there are times when, like, just kind of pivoting to the podcast itself, like, I do feel there is this division between wine moms and then like Utah Mormon moms, you know, like,
oh, what kind of moms?
Wine moms, you know, that wine moms that like are like, the gag is that they have like a huge bottle of wine that they can't wait to get to drinking. And then
I mean, they're drinking it all the while. Let's be real.
Exactly. Like, you know,
like, I need you all to understand that, like, those motherfuckers are like, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's been 5 o'clock since 9 a.m.
Like, they're
in their house.
Their Stanley cup is just full of red wine. And and at the other extreme are like the Utah Mormon moms, like the influencer.
Yes, who I also love.
I do too.
No, I love them.
I follow.
No. I
each
follow
of them.
I just started to sweat. I got so excited. I like really thought to myself, I was on the subway last night and someone was like, so who do you have on your podcast? And I basically was like, mostly my friends and people I want to be my friends, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. But the truth is I've really swung in one direction and I need to swing back and like get some Mormons on here and like really like, because I say this with like deep love and respect.
Yeah.
I love what's happening there.
Mhm.
I don't know. It is amazing to me. I follow one lady who has 9 children.
Yes. So many of them have 9. That's like
I
is that a
know.
magic number? And because
I
it's
don't
like
know. Maybe the body just stops at like the one digit.
the uterus is like enough.
Beep, 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 beep. It's never too late.
But I mean,
It's never too late.
It's also like
For you, I mean.
for me, it's definitely too late.
Is it too late? Did anyone get a vasectomy?
Oh,
I love my family.
yeah. I mean, I have broached the topic to be like, what
It
about,
needs to happen. It needs to happen.
you love,
It's like a half-hour procedure.
yeah, it's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah.
Like, how much do you really like sex?
You've already been circumcised, like,
I mean, really, it's like half done
yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. He's actually he's a European man, so he's actually not circumcised, which as a Jew
Oh.
is very strange.
Wow.
That's the
Where's
genre.
he from? He's European?
He's from the former Soviet Union.
What?
Yeah.
You're just dropping bombs like that?
Yeah, we're both immigrants.
He's a Russian Jew who's
Yes.
not, they didn't circumcise Russian Jews.
Mm-mm.
You know, I don't mean to be, I hate this topic so much because I did, it's like part of the tradition and, but I don't think it's right to circumcise. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. But, I do think it's right to get vasectomies.
Yeah.
Just for the record. If you're interested in my take on penises.
She's only pro one kind of snip, and it is
Yeah. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll deal with the whatever. But I am pro a vasectomy.
yeah, your body, your choice, and by choice she does mean vasectomy.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Choice.
Your choice. I'm wheeling you over, drugged.
I mean, it is
Love you,
very
honey.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, I am pro. We'll see. I mean, I just gave birth so recently, so
5 seconds ago.
Yeah, like 7 months ago. So
that's literally 5 seconds ago in the grand scheme of life.
I mean, truly, there are times where I forget that postpartum is actually the entire year after you have your child counts as postpartum.
No, I think it's actually 2 or 3 years for the record. And honestly, if we're speaking English,
Yeah,
postpartum is post having a baby, and that's forever. Like, you're never going to be the same. Your body's never going to be the same. Your life's never going to be the same. So
yeah.
I'm here but you literally are in the midst of like, I have a baby. She just started eating solids.
Yes.
Solid food.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her for like keeping her neck up.
Yes. The next situation
up,
is very, first and foremost, it's at the very top of mind. Rolling, flipping.
We're all very proud of her.
Yes.
I mean, really.
I was so proud of my daughter's strong neck. I was like sending pictures of like, she's an athlete.
She's a light unto the nations. Like, really. I mean,
Olympics
did
watch
you
out.
see that?
It was
swallowed smashed peas the first time round. Get out of my face.
The first Jewish, like whatever. It's just that's going to be her. Like I would do that all the time. Yeah. She'll be the first Jewish something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You need to know that I have quoted your joke to, I'll basically quote it to anyone. I just will say, like, I'll just be like, I saw this really sweet, she's a Korean mom and she's pregnant. She's talking about, I'm going to butcher it right in front of your face. Am I going to do it? No. Oh, shoot. I started, so I have to keep going. And she's like talking about her kid and how her kid's like, Mom, no one in my class is Jewish. And she's like, what do you mean? What about Elijah? What about Judah? What about, even Sage? And he's like, well, they don't look Jewish. And she gives this really funny face because that's like, you're not supposed to say that. And then I'm like, what do they look like? And the kid says, Asian. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I mean, it's because to be fair, like so many of like half of his family is like who are all Jewish, they
Are Asian, I
are
think.
Asian, and so
Because in Russia, or sorry, in the former Soviet
mhm.
Union, th they also looked Asian, right? Like,
Some parts of it. I mean, I guess Russia is technically Asia. I just recently learned
it
this,
is
but
technically Asia for
yeah.
real, for real.
Hmm.
And then also, like, Mongolia's around there,
Yeah.
and
Siberia. I mean, his grandmother was Siberian, and she actually looks like my mom. Like, there's
what?
like how, because you know how like old people all kind of start to get the same face, just like all babies kind of have the same face. Like that's
I
where.
love them, I love them. You know that I sing in Yiddish, so I, like, really love old people.
Yes, me
Like,
too.
I
Yeah,
love you love old
I
people?
love old people.
The fucking best!
I like more than I enjoy children. Um, like because
No,
children are
I
true.
like babies, which is different
Yes,
than children. I mean,
children.
I'm into children, like, they're all great, everyone's great, people are great, but babies are, like, really because 'cause they're so close to the source, and then
Hmm.
almost dead people, meaning very old,
Also close to the source.
also,
Hmm.
it's, like, really, like, they're, like, kissing the same consciousness, and I'm
Yes.
like, "What's that about? That's, like, some God stuff right there. I want in on that."
I mean, true. I mean, talking about getting philosophical, that, and you can feel it because there's an innocence that comes back around. Like,
I know.
yeah, it is very
With the
special.
knowing. There's an
Yes.
innocence that comes back around
Hmm.
with the knowing. Yeah.
Fully.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool that, like, so most of his family looks Asian or is Asian,
Hmm.
and he's Jewish.
Yes, we're all
That's
Jewish.
dope.
But I mean, it's
Fucking
also
dope.
the relationship that his family as Soviet Jews have to their Judaism is very
Mm.
different than the sort of Judaism I grew up around. I grew up in like Skokie. It's a very
Oh,
American Jewry kind of
yeah, yeah.
situation.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like much more pre-war immigration sort of
Yes.
situation. So
Yes.
um, the relationship to their Judaism is very different.
It really is. I have the chills, like,
Yeah,
the way you even articulate it, because I mean, this is your family.
yeah.
I know it because I grew up around Soviet Jews, um and, like, the man who taught me how to speak Yiddish didn't know that he was Jewish until he was, like, in his mid-20s
Mm.
when, like, someone gave him his passport and it said Jewish on it. He was like, "What? Oh, huh?" Like, as an ethnicity,
Right.
as an identity, as, like, he's not Russian, he's Jewish,
Hmm.
and, like, he was like, "I'm not sure what you're talking about." Um, and that so I understand that, but, like, this is, like, your family, so it's a really interesting it's really interesting because they
Yeah.
didn't teach religion in the Soviet Union.
No. And so it's very new to them. Like they have this sort of, yeah,
Mm.
like have you ever seen a giraffe walking? Like for the first time, like a baby giraffe when they're
Cling,
walking? Yeah.
cling.
There's that sort of awkwardness to their practice of it unless they've made a concerted effort to really identify with their Judaism once they arrive here. Or a lot of them in Israel are very
Yeah,
kind of newly devout. So inside of a lot of the especially that during the high holidays, because as a convert, I'm so much more intimately and more recently acquainted with all the traditions.
yeah.
Like very
I have
often,
the chills everywhere.
yeah.
Chills, chills, chills. This is so deep.
So
I really thought
yeah.
"Who Are You" was gonna go deep, but we got deeper. Okay.
But I mean, that's the reason why I think I sometimes take the lead in these things because I
Wow.
have the more recent and more intimate knowledge about this stuff versus
And
them.
yeah, and you're the matriarch, and,
Yeah.
like, in Judaism, you hold the candles, right? You hold the flame,
I mean, my
like, that's
mother-in-law 100% does.
I know, but you and your mother-in-law, like, who you look like, and
Yeah. No, 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 no. This is my mother-in-law is like regular Muscovite Jew, a Russian lady. This was my husband's grandmother who
Oh,
was
his grandma. Okay, got it, got it, got
Siberian.
it, got it,
But yeah, it's a
got it.
little removed. And but my mother-in-law is very much very tall, very Russian, very the kind of Soviet woman that wears fur
Yeah,
casually.
no, I know
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yep. She loves fur. She loves caviar.
Yes.
She like ducks. She likes like you know what when I go to do the Yiddish shows in the Yiddish they come up to me with flowers.
Yes, always flowers.
They come up to me with they've never met me in my life.
Yeah.
I'll do a show for them and the Russian audience. I mean, it's why like I mean in Israel Israel benefited greatly from the Russian
Immigration,
immigrants
yeah.
because they are so loving of the arts and sciences. I mean, it's like what's going on in in Russia right now is a whole other thing, but like the Soviet like culture is really beautiful. So they'll come up to me with like flowers, with chocolate, with like stuffed animals. It's really incredible for singing to them. It's really amazing. It really is amazing.
They do
How
like the flower and chocolates. It's a very
do they give you
traditional
flower and
gift.
chocolates?
They
Do
give
they
me,
give you
we
that
get,
after
I
your
mean,
shows?
yeah, I mean, no. I don't perform to any Soviet Jews. They're not going out to see stand-up comedy done by
I
me.
know, but your family.
No,
I'm
my
wondering.
parents have never seen me do comedy. My
Your
in-laws,
parents.
no,
Your parents?
have never seen me do
Wait,
stand-up.
I actually understand that because I'm first generation American.
Yeah.
Your parents are from Korea, right?
Yes. I was born in Korea.
You were born in Korea. Okay. So like I understand like you're like, guys, you don't want to be there. Like you don't.
I tell this story, but so my parents have come to see me do comedy once, and it was when I was doing improv. I was still doing improv, and it was very early in my sort of comedy career. And they came to see me, and I was performing with a team of other women. And after the show, my mom was in the back seat, and I'll never forget, she like poked her little head in between the two seats in the front and was like, "You were the shortest one."
Oh,
That's all she said about it.
oh my god.
And that's the only time she's ever seen
Mommy.
me do comedy.
Was that the only time she was invited? Were you like, done? Done with
Yeah, I
that.
mean, it's like they don't really speak English. So,
Yeah.
you know, I
Gotta go over
guess,
their heads anyway.
yeah. And it's such a mystery to them. All of this
Right.
is such like
Yeah.
absolutely a mystery to them. So, you know, this kind of goes into like what I wanted to talk about, but like,
Oh, tell
I
me.
mean, like, what to what end? You know, my relationship with them really wouldn't benefit. They really wouldn't gain any more insight into who I am or what I do. I think it might be even more
Mm.
confusing. Um,
Mm.
like
Wow.
you spend all your time doing this for how many people for how much? Like,
Right,
so
exactly.
I think it being remaining shrouded in mystery and having them not understand actually benefits me.
I love
I
that.
don't think it's helpful. Um, yeah, that I do. That's the sort of nature of our relationship. It's not. We are very close,
I believe you. I believe and I
but we
understand.
do not know each other.
Yeah, no, I don't think that was the I don't think that was the goal.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know how you feel about your children, you tell me. I would like to know my children, and I would like them to know me, and, like, ooh, like, Americans go on, like, family vacations, and they seem to like each other. They're all in bathing
yeah,
suits, like and they're not just sitting, they're, like, moving in bathing suits, like like, around, and, like, I see, like, I don't know, like, some balls are flying, like, they're burying each
yes,
other.
yes. They're using tools.
Like,
They're
for
cooperating.
me, yeah, I just, like, that big person's having fun, and the little person seems to be having fun too. Like, that is interesting to me, but that was not the plan. I don't know. That wasn't that wasn't my family culture. Like, that wasn't what was happening. There was no interest in learning about children. They were busy.
Yes,
They were busy. They
they're
were very
busy.
busy.
They're busy surviving, somewhat thriving, and it's just not the culture of parenting even during that time. Like even inside, even if American families got along, children were not really considered.
In America?
Yeah, like not in the same way. Like I don't think, like I don't know any of the other people that are like grew up in the 80s. Like their parents, they're close, but it kind of happened later as adults, and they
Oh, yeah.
have an intimacy. I guess that is more American. They were even though weren't considered, they were very much intimate, like knowing each other, and it was a priority. I don't know. I'm 40, so maybe this is like more of a Gen X thing because you're right. A lot of my younger millennial friends very much have like didn't even go through a rough teenage period with their parents.
With their parents?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
They had parents?
They, they had parents that were like
What?
remained in their lives as teenagers. Like they didn't go through a rough patch.
Wow.
Like isn't that crazy? But yeah, now that I'm thinking
I
of it,
don't even know. I can't even compute the idea.
yeah, because you gotta kind of hate. I mean, that's the part.
No,
Yeah.
like I thought hating your parents was like. I actually thought hating your parents was like normal and
Yes.
like part of child. I thought that was individuation.
Yes.
Apparently, individuation is a totally different thing. Hating your parents has nothing to do with it. It's just like being yourself. But I really thought that anyway. And then I went to NYU, and then I met a few people who didn't seem to hate them, but also were okay with being away from them. And I was like, something feels different.
You're not running from something or yourself and your past. Like,
Wait,
okay.
what's going on there?
Okay. Do you think you can be an
Mm.
artist?
I don't know.
And it turns out
They're
that
in
you can
marketing
be.
now.
Yeah, it turns out no, but it
Yeah.
turns out you can be.
No, you can't
Yeah.
actually. It turns out, yes, you don't have to make art from pain. I mean, I do, but I mean,
Likewise,
I don't know
yeah.
about you, but apparently in the world, you could just like totally be an artist and not have any gunk.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out your parents can be supportive, and
Oh, I mean, my parents are supportive now. My mom will cross the street, stop traffic, and be like, "She's famous," which is a hilarious thing to do because, like, there's nothing less famous about you than your mother needing to yell, "She's famous,"
to remind people.
to to tell people. She'll like take me around the synagogue. Oh, this is my, and I, I love you, mommy.
Yeah.
You know I love you. She'll take me around the synagogue and she'll just be like, "This is my daughter. She's famous." Like that's when you're like, that's actually not fame. That's like the opposite of fame is, you know what I mean?
This is shame. This is not fame. This is shame.
It's a shame. But it does turn out that like there could like parents can be supportive. Turns out
It's bizarre, and and like knowing that this is where I kind of what I wanted to talk about is like there are times when I look at my son's life and I am genuinely jealous. Like I have jealousy
yes.
for the life and parents and care and like
Mm-hmm.
how central his needs are to our lives and
Yes.
the confidence he has. I mean, this bitch has a favorite type of mango. He is,
Mm.
do you know what I mean? Like
And you buy it for him. You're not like withholding it.
no,
You actually get it for him.
I'm
You're like, I
excited.
know. Oh, because you love him.
Yes.
I know. I thought that's really like a conscious thing to say. You're deep, dude. You're funny and smart. Shoot. Pretty. Ugh.
Ah.
Ugh. You got it all. Yeah. No, that's so astute and require for me that's like artistry also. Is like you can pinpoint the truth within yourself and then like even if you do have guilt or shame or a weird feeling, you're like, I actually think this is a collective feeling. I
Mhm.
actually think I should say it out loud so that we can collectively move through this and just be okay with the fact that like there are times when I'm with my daughter where like my little girl self is so jealous.
Yes.
Because wow, was I ever allowed to throw a fit like that? The answer is no.
Like I'm getting shivers just even thinking about and I stopped myself from like accusing him of having it so good and so
Right,
easy
right.
because he
Because he
doesn't
doesn't.
he
He
doesn't.
doesn't. He's just a person.
And I'm not flawless, I'm not without fault in
I
things.
mean, you're flawless.
Well, you asked me to be camera ready.
I read the email.
But
Meanwhile, I'm like schwitzing in my sweatshirt. Go on.
but I I make a conscious effort to not remind him of like, well, how lucky you are.
When I was your age.
When I was your age, if your grandmother when she was my mom, she looked because he loves his grandmother. My mother
I know.
is
Of course.
so the generous and empathetic and the patience this woman has for my son is I'm like she must have been saving it. She must have
She was
been
like, Eunji,
no.
not deserving.
I'm not going to use this patience today.
You know what? I only have so much. I'm going to wait a couple of decades. I cannot relate more. My mother, I mean, if you met my mother, first of all, she's the cutest.
Mhm.
She's fucking cute as hell. And then you see her with my children, and you're like, this woman's a fucking saint. This woman is perfection.
Mm-hmm.
She is kind. She reads the gentle parenting books. She sends me the reels. Oh my God, my daughter has fits and is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, but Pazzy, there was no sweet sound like that when okay. Wow. Isn't that incredible? No, I have mentioned to, I never say it in a way that's like shameful to my kids, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, oh yeah, mommy and Abba or Saba and Safta,
Mm-hmm.
their grandparents, I don't know, wouldn't have, they weren't nice to me about something like that. I once said that to Ness and he was like, why wasn't Safta nice to you? First of all, it was, I never said it again, but
Yeah.
it was devastating to him. Why would Safta's the nicest person in the world and you're my mom? What?
I mean, I did that once as well, and I had this exact same reaction because I don't want to burst that bubble because it will happen eventually. I just don't want to be responsible for it. So even inside
Yeah.
that moment, being aware of it, there's just moments where I'm like, I wish someone was here to give some sort of comfort to me and like
Yeah.
the child that I had to be because I did not get afforded the same sort of patience or care because
A childhood. I mean,
childhood,
like you
right?
weren't allowed to be a child.
So I mean that I do have to resist that impulse, but also I have to remember to be kind to my parents because there's it's just even the memory of them you have to be kind to them
Yeah.
because by virtue of the fact that you are now a parent you understand how difficult it must have been and then for them to have not to have even fewer resources.
I mean, like so fewer.
I mean, it's really
So
why.
fewer.
Yes.
I
And
know.
not even the
I know.
conversation around parenting looked nothing like what it does today. I mean, but I will say that sometimes the noise around parenting is hard to cut through because there's so many
Mm.
opinions. Everyone has like a type like a baby led weaning like program. Everyone has like a way to make them sleep. I can't tell you how many hundreds of dollars I've spent given to women for sleep
I
training
know. I know.
counseling
I
and
know. Me too.
it's just
Me too.
literally me texting a woman so she will give me the confidence to let my child cry it out.
I know. I know. It's
Like,
which is essentially like what they say they're not doing, and they're like, it's not crying it out. It's and you're like, okay, here's my monies
yeah.
for the nging, and then you're texting her, and she's like, don't go in, and you're like, but my body says to go in, and she's like, but you're tired, and I'm like, but my body says,
And you're just
maybe
you're paying for that
I'm just,
privilege.
I know. I
Like
mean, I know. Listen, all I'm saying is I know. I just know.
I just
I
like
really do know.
I've army crawled out, and we all have mom group chats. Like it's so much support and so much
Yeah,
noise that ultimately I don't know how differently any of us are actually parenting outside of
I
being
know.
kinder and centering these things and not yelling at our children, right? Which is
Well,
good.
I do think that's good. It's funny because like I actually so the yelling I mean we all do it, but that's like a nervous system. That's
Yeah.
like your nervous system is totally tapped out. Like no one what in what world do I want to yell at you? Like I don't want to.
No.
That hurts me.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to do that to anyone. But that's like a nerve, like the nervous system being like, I actually can't take it anymore. Like I actually can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
But like the kinder I think is really good. There are some things like around shame that I think like is so nuanced
Hmm.
that it's really hard to not shame children if you were shamed as a child.
Hmm.
If like your mother telling she loves you and saw you up on that stage and had her eye on you was saying you were the shortest one up there. Like that was her most loving. She literally reached for the most loving thing to say and that was it.
And she was like, the rest of it I'll save for my grandchild in about 10 years. Like I'm not
That's exactly right.
I-
That's and she tried.
she
And
tried.
the thing and so I think like, I try really hard not to shame whatever, but like sometimes it just spills out of my face because I've been indoctrinated for so many
Hmm.
decades around like that's how you treat
Hmm.
children. That's how I was treated. I say sorry though. That's a big one.
I always say sorry.
I say
I
sorry.
apologize. That is new. And I have gotten like given myself more.
Generationally now.
Yes. I mean, but I have learned how to give myself a little more grace around these things because I feel like if you have the resources, you have the information, you have the data that we all are afforded now. And I'm like, why can't I be better? Why can't I fix this?
Well,
And it's,
but it's like,
yeah.
no, it's like anything else. Here's the thing. It's
Hmm.
like we have all the data around how to be the most successful podcasters, comedians, the fitness fucking people. We have all the data. Like we could Google literally anything.
Hmm.
But we're also just like people who are operating under I don't know how much sleep. You have a 7-month-old, and how old is your oldest?
7. So he's getting good. My 7-year-old
7.
is getting good sleep.
Sweetie.
I'm getting
Good.
about 4 hours.
So you see, so like, like we're also people. Like we're
Mhm.
not machines. We're not AI. Anyway, it's like we know a lot, but actually doing better takes an enormous amount of work.
So much. And it's, you know, do you have a second shift? Do you work a second shift? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like where you do your regular stuff and then at night after the children go to sleep, you have the second shift of things that as a mom you're responsible
That I
for.
have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a second shift, and then there are some times where I'm just too tired and I can't do
I
it.
can't do
I
it.
just can't.
So that's what I like that second shift. There's so much parenting that's done and like logistically and organizationally, like mentally that you have to do in that second shift. And like for me personally, I'm working in the content mines all day. And then I have to
Yeah.
work at the, you know,
You do it so
yeah.
good.
I'm digging
I'm proud
hard.
of you.
Thank
You're
you.
doing
I'm getting a
great.
lot of ore. And so, and then after the mad dash to bedtime and just trying to catch up with a certain amount of culture and checking in with friendships and other relationships in my life that sustain me. And so where I make a
Yeah.
priority, that second shift sometimes, I don't clock
I don't
in.
do the
I
dishes.
don't do
I
the
don't clock
dishes. I
in.
mean, I can't.
And I think, I like recently came to the sort of conclusion that like maybe that's like my protest. I'm
Hmm.
like, I cannot. My body literally will say like, I can't. I
Mm.
can't do the dishes and I can't pack the lunch right now. And I don't want to. And like, you know what? I did it for such a long time
Yes.
and I'm handing it off to my husband these days, or I'm doing it in the morning, or it's not getting done. Like, or on the way to fucking preschool, I pick up a bagel with cream cheese,
Yes.
and like that's gonna have to be okay because like she's loved and cared for. And I think, and something that I want to ask you is like, you do make a priority to go after your dreams. And I think that that is a level of self care that people don't talk about enough. Like, do I think facials are great? Do I think like, a bath is nice? Yes, absolutely. But I also think like fulfilling your life's mission is so important to your soul
Mhm.
and to your family.
I mean, I wish I could say that I do it that it comes easily and I do it without guilt or like I do it with a certain amount of like bravura and confidence. But I feel honestly that I pursue my dream with a great deal of um, uh, like I'm worried about it. I feel like I'm apologizing for it a lot. And as a result, I
Well,
have to
maybe,
work harder in my second shift. I feel a lot of responsibility
right.
and guilt for
Yes.
doing it.
Oh, and like the tryhards.
Hmm.
You know what I feel? I feel like I just did a play and I felt like I had to like give more on stage than I really needed to.
Hmm.
And then I felt like I needed to give more at home than I really needed to. And then I somehow have to give more of like self-care because I've given out to everyone else. And like actually the math doesn't add up.
No.
Because when I like I'm like, wait, uh something's got to literally give.
Yeah.
Um, when I watch you do it, like pursuing, I mean, you are so fucking funny and
Thank
smart
you.
and talented. I mean, and just like a goddamn delight. Um, but when I didn't know that you had that guilt,
Hmm.
and actually, because I didn't perceive that, I was sort of like I was inspired.
Oh, that's
Do you know what I
great.
mean?
That's so great to hear. I'm glad I can do
Yeah.
that. I mean, I am a big proponent of faking it until you make it, and do I do consciously. not show a lot of vulnerability like in my performance. I'm not someone that's like, oh, I'll put upon. I'm like, I'm, us ladies, we're so, you don't have time to brush our hair, like the Roseanne
Yeah.
type of like ladies. Like I do make it a point to not be as vulnerable because I do kind of think that I don't want to have moms feel like they can't do things, that it's all possible. Like, I'm glad that you feel that way. It is a conscious sort of thing. But the reality of
I know.
yeah.
I really do. I really I can feel that it's
Mhm.
conscious, and I appreciate it. I feel like it's like a bit of advocacy on your part. But what were you gonna say? You said
Oh,
there was like an
yeah,
underbelly.
I mean, because the thing is online, things are always at two extremes, right? So
Sure.
there are versions of mom and comedian and even femininity and femaleness that are represented as like they divulge and are incredibly vulnerable. And it's like every trauma, everything that's wrong constantly. And like, this is a post around being really vulnerable, like that sort of genre. And then there's the genre where like I think I want to occupy, where it's a little more mysterious. And when I leave a room, people are like, "How does she do it?"
Mhm.
Like, um,
And then we get on the podcast and we
yeah,
talk about it.
like that is a very conscious choice because
It's so artfully
yeah,
done.
I hope so. Like I'm
Yeah, it
killing
really
myself
is.
over here.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
are. I mean, really, you are. Of course you are.
but yeah,
I know as a mom that or I don't, because there are people with a lot of help out in the
mhm,
world that don't divulge that, that there are people whose second shift is, handed off to someone they pay, which
sure,
is absolutely totally fucking
yeah.
fine, and even those women, by the way, are working their asses off,
I
to
mean,
be fair.
I am very fortunate to not only I do have help, and I
Yeah.
also have my parents very close by. Like,
Wow.
it's I could not sustain
And
this. Yeah,
still
I could not sustain this absolutely without a community. And whenever people reach out to me about like how I manage it, I'm like, I don't. It's
Mhm.
absolutely impossible. Like the people that
Mm.
are telling you that they're doing it without help are lying because
They're
they're lying.
lying, or they're not telling you how much help they
Hmm.
have, like because that's not like because, they're storytelling online, and they're running a
Hmm.
business, and, they're waiting for the podcast for someone to ask them, which is fine,
Yeah.
like, but it's incumbent upon me, at least, to say it's impossible to do it without help, real help, and even when we do have help, it's a lot of work.
I mean, there is no help in the world that will help. Like, you still have to sign the permission slip. You still have
Yeah.
to think about what they're going to do during the summer. You're the ones paying and signing them up for the camps. Like, there's just
Mm.
no level. Like, maybe the super celebrity people who make X amount of dollars and the 1%. But even if you're
I
like,
I
yeah,
know some of those.
yes,
I know.
but even they have to sign the permission slip. There's someone has to go to the doctors. Like this, you're a parent. There is like a certain
Also, they fucking
federal.
care about the thing is they care about their children.
Yes.
Like, that's one thing you cannot outsource.
Mm-mm.
Like, even if the nanny loves your kids, which I'm sure she
Mhm.
does, like, that a level of care, you love your kids. You want to be like, as much as you wanna be on vacation all the time, true, or you wanna be on tour doing your
Sure.
comedy or your music, like, all true, you also want to be with your
Mhm.
kids. Like, that's a real thing that's happening that's inside of every parent, for the most part, that, even if you have help, that push-pull is always present.
And I think that even if you don't like quote unquote like we can't like if you can't don't have a situation or the resources to be able to get like a nanny, that's
Yeah.
fine, but you still need help. Like
Mhm.
someone in your community, a friend, someone like you can't you this we none of us were meant to live this way.
No,
Siloed
this is not.
like siloed in these things. Like your child also needs exposure to other adults. Someone to even give you reprieve and your relationship
Yeah.
some space. Like there especially early on, I don't think
Mm.
I ever um early on was very hesitant to relinquish control. So I'm
Yeah.
speaking from like kind of experience here. Why with my second, I was much more willing to just relinquish a lot of control. With my first, I was very afraid. I had
Afraid. Yeah.
postpartum anxiety, which was not really a
Yeah.
thing when I gave birth to my son.
Yeah. Even 6 years ago when I had my son, I experienced postpartum anxiety, but I didn't know until it was sort of gone.
Yes.
Like I didn't have a name for
Mm-mm.
it. I was like, this is a really intense
Yeah.
love feeling.
Yes. It felt like
I didn't understand. I thought that was love. I really
because
did.
also
I really
because it also reflects how my mother loved. It was
right.
very anxious, like anxious forward,
Attachment. Yeah.
right? Like it was worry. It was
Mhm.
a type of
Worry was love.
was
Worry
love.
was love.
So it felt very familiar, but it was the noise was so incessant. I couldn't articulate what it was. I did feel legitimately like I was losing my mind, and
Mm.
I couldn't relinquish control. And so my relationship with my friends, with my comedy, with all of it really spiraled in a way where I could not enjoy motherhood. It was like something that that first year, I I felt the joy kind of slipping through my fingers. Like I was like I knew I should be experiencing it, and I could feel fleeting moments of it, but
Yeah.
because of the anxiety, I just felt it constantly like slipping through my fingers. And once I finally got a handle on it, and I let people, help, whether it was a babysitter every once in a while, going on a date night, going on a walk, not having to do something so structured, not obsessing over every single milestone that he wasn't hitting.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
this is like the kind of advice where, so my son wasn't doing well potty training. He wasn't, I have like a bit about it online, how it's a phenomenon with boys specifically called fecal hoarding, and they won't poo in a,
Poop.
yeah.
You think I didn't see
Yeah.
that one? I saw that.
So I was really concerned, and I remember worrying about it and I was talking to my mother-in-law, my Soviet mother-in-law, and she was like, Angela, um, like, Angela, I also was worried. Like my son would also not. This was the same problem he had. And I was just so worried about it. And I remember talking to this older gentleman at a party about this. I was concerned, and he came up to me and he said, Marina, look around you. Do you see any men shitting their pants in the streets? He's like, he'll figure it out. And
Oh my God, Marina, thank you so much. Oh my
it's like,
God. Oh
do
my
you
God.
see any men shitting their pants in the streets? He'll figure it out.
I love
And
that.
the thing is, usually when people are like,
Love that.
it'll be fine, it feels like they're dismissing your concern. But the
Yeah.
way that the story was phrased, it really gave me room to be like, yeah, there are no people shitting their pants. Like, I,
Wait a second. I noticed that
like,
too.
it really got through to me, and it really gave me some perspective about when you're so myopic about your child and his needs and what's happening
Mm,
right now, and
mm,
you have no
mm-hmm.
other context, because especially if it's your first, you are freaking out. Because
Yeah.
there's not a, no matter how many mom groups you're in, like it's just, you are freaking out internally. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that conversation and that permission, like where, I don't know, this like kind of old world attitude about it, I was like,
I love it.
yeah, because there is no Instagram mom saying that.
Literally zero because they're not making money off
Yeah.
that. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
there's no
mean?
program they can push when
That's
that's
exactly
the
right.
story. um
That's exactly right.
so I feel like that's sometimes really important to remember. Like that's sort of the story I tell a lot of first time younger moms, where I'm like, I know you're not going to really hear anything I say when I tell you
Yeah.
that it'll be fine. You can't hear it because you think that I'm dismissing your anxiety and fear. But listen to the story, because yeah, they'll figure it out.
They're going to figure it out. And he figured it out.
Yes, he did. I mean, he still woke up at 5:30, and I continued to spend money. And there's still sleep trainers out there that I've given $200 to and never helped
Yeah.
me figure it out. But it's you have to remember that it's the way that your family operates and the way that you even choose to love your children is the way you choose to do it. You
Yeah.
can't be prescribed that. And
Yeah.
I have to remind myself of that all the time because
Mm.
especially if you are loved imperfectly and you feel like
Mm.
that memory of like how you were parented doesn't,
Mm.
it finds you, you feel like it
Mm.
was lacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
trust yourself to love, like you can't trust yourself
Well,
to love quote unquote correctly.
yeah.
And you know, it's that you have to just give yourself grace in some moments, not always, because that's hard to do and I get it, but reminding yourself occasionally will give you the permission to, check out of like not doing that second shift. Give yourself permission to be good at what you are designed to be
Good
good at,
at.
right? Your dream, what
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
it yeah, that's the time to give yourself that kind of grace and then take a breath.
I just want to reflect to you that, like, I think you pursuing your comedy, I see it as an extension of your mothering.
Do you?
I see it as you I do, because I see, like, you mothering a younger part of yourself in a way that you needed so that you're not actively jealous of your own children.
Yes. I mean,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, because yeah.
You're
Yeah.
getting what you need. You're getting what you need right now in the present moment. Maybe you didn't at the time, like when you were their age necessarily, but in order not to be triggered by that experience, uh, you need to fill your cup, which you're intuitively doing. You're filling your cup and creating boundaries. You're like, actual parents, it would be great if you could be fantastic at grandparenting right now
Mhm.
while I go do my job, which I was meant to do. I will not report back to you. You have nothing nice to say about it. Like this is good parenting of yourself. And that has a huge ripple effect on your children. I mean, I your wholeness, and I say this to myself
Mhm.
also because when I watch you, like, you're killing it. You're hilarious, you're gorgeous, you're ambitious, you're smart,
It's too
and you're
much.
out there.
Yeah.
It's too much. Stop being so nice to me. I can't handle that.
Please,
Okay, so just listen to it on the replay. So, when I watch that, I get the permission slip also to reparent myself. And I don't say reparent like, "Oh, my parents did a bad job,
mhm,
blah, blah, blah." They
exactly.
really did
Yes.
like, really. But there are parts of me that weren't seen that get to be seen now. And if I don't tend to that, like, you better believe my nervous system gets overstimulated and I shout more than I'd
Yeah.
like, and I act in ways that really make me feel shameful.
Mhm.
Um, and like I didn't live up to the mom I want to be. The only way to, like, circumvent that is by giving myself what I need. And what I
Yeah.
need is art and conversation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, during the pandemic when there were no shows, let me tell you, the people that really felt that were my family. Yeah.
Comedians.
It was my family.
Yeah. Oh, my.
'Cause they
Oh, believe. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh, I mean, oof, that was really hard. That was really, really, really hard
like
for
I needed
performers.
to be perceived, and my family who don't have to bear witness to this because I get it elsewhere typically. I was
Yeah.
like really doing it at them in a way that they had never had to before. And I remember
Yeah.
my husband being like, maybe you should be doing a couple more Zoom shows, like something you
Yeah, yeah,
never
yeah,
said
yeah.
before. Um, like, oh, like maybe like, do you want to go hang out with somebody? Maybe like you're screaming a lot of jokes and hot takes. um, yeah.
Funny. That was funny, mommy. Funny.
Like, is this giving you enough of what you need, mama? Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. The answer is
yeah,
no. So if you could laugh harder,
yes.
please. Thank you. Thank you much.
I mean, so I think they, in particular, my son understood it really. in a way he hadn't before. Because I think before he did, like, he was upset about me leaving, especially before bedtime.
Sure.
He saw me leaving,
Little.
and he was like, "Oh, you look very nice," or like, because usually he sees me in a different form, like mom, and then I become performer, and he sees it.
Yes. Yes, he's my parent my children do
Yeah.
also. They'll be like my daughter will put on a princess dress and she'll be like, "I'm going to sing
Yeah.
now."
There's like this version of you that they see you click into. And
Yeah.
during the lockdown, I think he understood what I am outside a little bit
Yeah.
because I needed it
Yeah.
so desperately. And
Me too.
yeah, I think they understood it. And I think he's much more understanding of it in a way that he couldn't be because he had never seen it. It was only something that I
And
did
also
outside. Yes.
he needs
Yeah.
it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's thank God for art. Thank God for comedy. Like, you make me laugh so hard. Like it's a gift for all of us, and it's like a pressure release. It's a healthy pressure release. It's connection, it's laughter,
Mhm.
it's storytelling. There's only an upside to pursuing your dreams. I really believe that. There have been a couple of guests who came on who have said that their mothers were actresses
Oh, wow.
that that ended up not pursuing it because they had a child, which, we all know this story,
Yes.
right? Because, like, I don't know why. I don't know why, but we always felt like children were like the opposite of pursuing a career in entertainment
Mhm.
for whatever, and in many ways they are. But like there have been two guests that came on, and it created a lot of almost hurt for them, because they children don't want to be the reason for their parents' discontent or lack in any way. They want to add to our lives.
And to feel like an adult disappointment, an adult regret, like that's fucking heavy, bro. Like, I mean,
I
for me, like listening to it, I'm like,
I can't even
yeah,
oh, like I can't even hear it without making a weird
yeah, I'm
face.
like, oh, like brutal. That's sort of why I would say this: if the calculus was that pursuing the dream was worse and harder than staying at home and caring for my children or doing just a regular job, because I can't imagine myself really being a stay at home. I don't think I'm built for it. Um,
Yeah, ditto.
so regardless,
I tried.
regardless, I would have worked in some way. So
Yeah.
like if the calculus and the math on the net return on what I'm receiving from my pursuit didn't make sense, like it was making me go crazy. And I know a lot of actor friends and comedian friends where that happened, right? They hated go on
Yeah.
stage, they didn't like it, the grind sucked, and it's true. Like there are plenty of times where I'm like, I don't want to go out at 8:30 and perform,
Yeah. Or I don't wanna be treated like that. I don't
Exactly.
wanna be
Like,
paid
it's
that.
crazy what I've
A lot of
done.
things.
It's crazy the things I've done for $25. Like,
Oh my god, crazy.
like, really.
So crazy.
I'll never speak of them, but the things I've done for $25 is nuts. The things I've done for 80, even more wild. So
Yeah, I mean, really.
so if that ever happened, I think I would gladly have done that. But because it hasn't, and because it continues to be the source of deep
Joy.
joy and fulfillment,
Mm.
I there was no world in which I could even if I did have a regular job, I couldn't see myself giving this up. And I told my
Mm.
husband that very early on, because I didn't start comedy until I turned 30. And yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you started comedy after your son was born, actually.
I started
Yeah.
doing stand up while I was 38 weeks pregnant. I was
Wow.
2 centimeters dilated when I went up for the first time.
You were about to
I was about
deliver.
to
You know
deliver.
what I'm saying?
Like, I was truly that was the last time I auditioned for, a Second City, like, general. I don't know why they called me in, and this is what's even crazier, that I went in. Like, I was
I mean, I get it.
yes.
I really get it. I did Ocean's 8 when I was 8 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like a shop girl in the scene with Sandra Bullock, and it's the thing that, like, has gotten around TikTok more times than I can count, and I was just like, that one booking,
Hmm.
I it really made it okay for me to be pregnant for whatever reason. I just, like, needed that.
Yes.
I needed that. I needed to know that my career wasn't over. I just needed to know that, like, I could still work, that I wasn't some, like, discarded
Hmm.
piece of meat.
Because you do.
Felt
There's like
good.
a part of the industry that feels like that. When I was pregnant, it's very different even in the 6 years between my first child and with my second. Because with my
Yeah?
first, with my son, I kind of felt like everyone was ready to say goodbye. They're like, okay, well, I
Mm.
guess you're finished with this now, and like somehow I was like a paper towel, and like, I was ready to be thrown away. Little they know, I'm
Yeah.
an immigrant, and we never throw away paper
Mm.
towel; we reuse. And
Yeah, we do.
so, like, I wasn't ready. And in that time, in the 6 years since, I see the difference in the industry and the people that are taking
Yeah.
in, because there are a lot of younger women that also,
Yeah.
like, they see themselves, they want to have a child and continue to work. So they see you and they're like, yes, of course, and assume correctly that you do. It wasn't like
Yeah.
that even 6 years ago. It's very
I
interesting.
agree. I agree. I so agree. Actually, when I auditioned for Ocean's 8, I was 8 weeks pregnant. I wasn't sure it was gonna stick because you never know.
Yeah.
And, and by it, I mean Ness Kai Circuit,
Yeah.
who's, like, walking around. Um, and I didn't tell anyone, but once they shot, they obviously knew I was pregnant, and the writer and casting director were like, "She's a shop girl, like, just let her do it." And there was a bit of an issue,
Really?
but they won out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they really went to bat for me. They were like, "She was really funny, like, that was a really great 2 like, let's do this, like, she can do it." And I'm really good friends with them now because that was such a bonding moment, but I don't know, I wonder if people are doing films with pregnant ladies more. I mean, I hope so, but I do know that I just did a play and things are different. I mean, like, my dressing mate was this 24-year-old girl who was, like, not taking shit. The stage managers, like, things that I thought were totally normal in
Mhm.
the theater, they were like, "No, it's our break." Like,
The boundaries on
little
these
things.
children is really very
I know.
healthy. Like, they're like, "Nope."
I know. I I
Yeah.
know. I as a collective,
Mhm.
I'm like, "The fuck is that? Okay. Is that self-respect? What's that smell?"
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
wow. Yeah, I think we're getting better. I
Yeah.
think it's getting
Because
better.
it's like there used to be this idea that, you know, the reality, and if art is gonna reflect that, is that sometimes women are pregnant. Like,
Turns out.
turns out, like, they do be getting pregnant, and
Yeah.
it's very it's interesting that how often care was taken to, like, disguise and, like, hide and all this stuff. It's like, the reality is sometimes you do run into women that are shockingly pregnant, and
Yeah.
and it's, when I was the reason why I gave up improv was because when I was pregnant, I could just these 24, and even during stand up when I was pregnant the second time, there are these 24-year-old men that just, like, it blows their mind because they just truly have never considered a pregnant woman before
Having a conversation.
having a conversation. Like, that's like something
Just
gross that their mom did, and like, that's it.
talking while pregnant in front of me.
Okay, someone take her to jail. Yeah. This woman needs to be arrested. And it was like they were so scared of me. And there's also a thing about, like, being really pregnant and, doing improv, which is, the whoosh whoosh of it all, which is kind of painful to watch. And during when I was doing improv, it was very rare. And in the time since, I know so many women that have done improv pregnant.
That's awesome.
And
That's awesome.
it was like it was interesting because, I was like, I didn't understand what was coming with the energy that was coming off these young men. Cause I was like, I was already married when I started comedy, so I was accustomed to being disregarded and like kind of like a neutered energy. Like they're like, I don't want to fuck you, and you have no power, so I don't know what you are. And I was already
Mm.
accustomed to that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they'd want to fuck you.
And they did
Just
not.
just a hunch.
No, no, no. Guaranteed they did not.
Okay.
I know, I agree. Shocking.
They're lost.
Yeah,
I
shocking.
know.
But that was never the energy coming towards me. But it was very new when I was pregnant. I asked my husband, I was like, what do you think it is? And he was like, you know, for young men who are like not in their 30s and don't know many women at that point who have been pregnant, it's kind of like a Fabergé egg has entered the room. Like they perceive it as very delicate and very important,
Mhm.
but you cannot touch or disturb it. So it's like
Mm.
they just don't know how to regard you. They're just very
I
aware.
can't imagine being in an improv scene with someone I felt that way with. I'd be like, "How do you even talk? Like, how do you even
They didn't
engage?"
wanna engage, they didn't wanna touch, they don't wanna, like, all that stuff, and so that makes it hard to have an establish a relationship with that person inside of an improv scene, which is all about establishing a relationship. So,
Yeah.
that's why I started doing stand-up, because of that, and so I
I'm s
could have a dialogue with the audience, and I would establish a
mm,
relationship with the audience,
mm,
and that's how I got started. I mean,
mm,
it was just by virtue of the fact that I knew I needed to do something, and the industry and the community I was in currently could not give me what I needed.
mm.
And
I'm so glad you started, stand up. You're so good at it.
I mean, I was
So
not
fucking
before.
funny.
At all.
I mean, of course, you needed practice.
I mean, that is part of it where I think, my when we go back to like how I was mothered, I never took disapproval or no as an excuse to not do it anyway. Because my mom constantly told me no. My mom was constantly giving me boundaries, and I was just like, okay, what do what's next? Because the world
Yeah,
can't simply be this closed off, and that is something that really is how. And you know this, right? Like especially in this
yeah,
industry, you hear no incessantly. You hear no most of
yeah.
the time.
Yeah, but I always heard no incessantly,
Yes,
so I ain't scared.
yes. So,
I ain't scared of your no. Actually, what's really interesting is I get I'm working on this. I'm so used to no's,
mhm.
but the inevitable yes always ends up showing up. Like, once you're, like, in this industry for long enough, you're doing your work, you're auditioning, I mean, you're not afraid of the no, like, great, but then it's when things are good that, like, my therapist will be like, "Well, now we keep an eye on you, so that you don't blow it up." And, and so I
That's
think
really
there's, like, it's, like, good, it's good,
yeah.
and just what I'm working on is just, like, allowing the world to say yes to me too, because the world also wants to say yes.
Girl, that is where I'm living. Like like learning to
Mm.
accept the yes of the world is I mean, for someone who's done as much improv, I am having a tough time yes anding that
Yes,
shit. Like
and yeah.
I really it's very it's I don't know if it's necessarily the reparenting or whatever, but like I do have to I find it very difficult to give myself that grace. And yes, that's what? Next pod, let's see if I've worked it out
I
because
know.
right now,
Let's, like, see if the let's, like, let the world say yes to us the next time it wants to say yes to us,
yeah, because
which
that's
might be
just
this
very yeah. I'm journaling right now.
like, right now, and then we'll try it again, and it'll be, like, one step at a time. Because like, we got the "I'm not afraid of rejection" part. That's
Yes,
pretty dope. We got a leg up on that. But, like,
yeah.
what if, like, the world doesn't actually wanna reject us? Because like, let me tell you, you really are fucking awesome.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
I
really, likewise, likewise. I mean, it's
Thank you.
really tough to like hear, and so like I'm like,
See? Wait, just say yes to that, just say yes to
yeah,
that.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yes, and
Yes,
and no,
and
no, likewise. It's been I've been listening to a couple of the podcast episodes, and it's like it's very you are very vibrant and fun, but it's takes a lot of the bandwidth you have to be able to do this as well as all the other things you do. Like, good on you, girl.
Thanks. Thanks. I find this easier than parenting. I really do. Like, I find it easier than bath time.
Agreed. It's just like they're so slippery.
I love them so much. Please
But
don't.
they're so
Please
slippery.
let me just help you. Can I cut your nails? Like, just
Yes.
let me.
Like you're
Um,
so slippery during this time, and it's
I
hard to literally get a
know.
handle on you.
Eunji, can I see you live ever? Do you perform in New York?
Yes, we're doing an East Coast tour in August. If you go to
Great.
my Instagram,
Yes.
at the best Unji, we'll be announcing it. But yes, we're going to be doing New York and LA in the fall.
Great. I
So
cannot wait. Any
yes.
other events or things we should be looking out for?
Not really. If you want to go to my website, I'll have the shows up. Follow me on Instagram. But like I really am we're doing all the city wineries, like three of them. We're doing
Oh,
city wineries in Pittsburgh, Philly, and then Boston. So August
awesome.
2nd, 3rd, and 5th. Yeah.
Awesome. 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 Um, I performed at City Winery here in New York City, and I don't know, maybe I can help
Let's do
hook
it.
you
Yeah.
up. Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. Hey, thanks for this.
Yeah,
You're
likewise. Like
you're
thank you for this.
it got deeper than who are you today, and I'm here for
Yeah.
that.
Was that the only question you asked?
Was that the only? I don't know. Wow, it's a blur. We're gonna have to really like listen back. What the hell just happened? Thank you. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for listening, friends. See you next week on Mom Curious. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Mom Curious podcast. My name is Daniella Rabbani. I am your host, and I would love to continue this conversation at Daniella Rabbani on Instagram. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, share this podcast, I would be just really grateful. Catch you next time, every Tuesday on the Mom Curious podcast, produced by Hoff Studios. You can find them at Hoff Studios on Instagram as well. All right, have a great day.